Hello everyone, and this is the news, Q&A, and video for DCS World on the 23rd of August 2015. So in today's video, I'm going to take a little bit of a different format in that while I'm doing the news and Q&A, I'm going to run the video portion of it in the background, mainly because there's really not a whole lot to explain in this video. It's basically one of the single missions for the L39C, in which I'll be flying through a series of gate in the northern part of the Black Sea map using DCS World 1.5. Now, unlike the previous video I released where everything was in the back seat, this video I'll be flying entirely from the front seat. Now, it's also interesting to note that, as some of you may know, the northern part of the Black Sea map is the oldest part of the map and has the lowest resolution of texture mesh. Then we actually have two other different levels. The highest level is actually around the Minvodi area, and that's the highest level detail. And then the medium mesh detail is in the lower part of the map in the Georgian area. So this video, again, is more focused on the northern part, showing you what the lowest level of mesh areas look like within DCS World in 1.5. And we also got some issues cleaned up regarding landing. So it's my intent right now that for the next video, I'll have a look at landing the L39C. Now, having done these videos for a little bit now, I think I found the best spacing of these videos is probably about once every couple weeks. Now, there will be times, of course, where we're going to have some critical information or something very interesting in which I'll have it less than a couple weeks. But also will be other cases where tied up with other matters, in which case it will be more than 2 weeks. So it'll vary, but overall I'm generally going to shoot for about once every couple weeks. So let's move on now to Eagle Dynamics news. The first item is that we're actually in the testing phase of a new K50 campaign, which will be released for 1.2.16 in the not too distant future. So we'll be providing some details on that in the coming days. Now next, as most of you have noticed, we have a new release version of 1.2.16, and this version primarily deals with localization issues, but you can read the complete list of changes in the video notes. Now, the big item, of course, is getting the new graphics engine ready for the release of DCS World 1.5, and then, of course, the follow-on to that, which will be DCS World 2.0. Now, as pointed out previously, the only big difference between 1.5 and 2.0 will be the ability to import the external maps, NTTR, and so on in 2.0. Other than that, all the primary features will be the same. Now, what needs to be pointed out, though, is that we have many features listed for 1.5 and 2.0, but not necessarily all of those will be released, or I should say available at the initial release of 1.5 next month. Such items such as the new ATC system, new weather system, some of the explosion effects and things like that will certainly not be ready in time for 1.5. Those will come online later on during 1.5, if not 2.0. So if you consult our forums, we have a pretty extensive list of the items you can look forward to in 1.5, 2.0. Just realize not all of those will be available right when we first release. Now, of course, a big element of the release of 1.5 will also be the corresponding release of DCS L39 Albatross. And the progress with that's coming really well, as I think you can see in the video playing right now. And more items will go online even after the initial release. And as I just mentioned, one of the features that will come on later will be the cooperative multiplayer within the same aircraft for the L39. Right now, I really don't think it's going to be in there when we release next month, but it'll surely be in there as we further progress into 1.5 and then 2.0. Another big item we've been working on is the multiplayer for 1.5/2.0. This includes the mission list, the ability to shuffle and loot missions that have end mission triggers assigned to them, having advanced server descriptions, the ability to sort servers in a whole different list of ways, and also a new chat. But like a theme here, not all the features will be there right when we first release 1.5. Some things will probably come on a little bit later, such as being able to see all the different players within a selected server. So there's more things that will be coming online down the road as well. Now, another big item we've been working on has been the F-15C flight model with our partners at Belsing Tech. And we're pretty close to final on this. Over the past couple of weeks, we finally resolved the issues of rudder performance at angles of attack around 44 units, and our F-15 flight model SMEs are very happy with the results on that. There's a couple more issues we want to resolve, particularly some of the high altitude performance above 45,000 feet. But other than that, we're pretty close, and hopefully not too distant future, we'll put a bow on it and call it done. So that wraps up some of the new news for the Eagle Dynamics products. So let's go on to the Q&A section. The first question has to do with some questions I saw regarding the mist effect in the previous L39 video. And in fact, it's actually not mist, it's the new effect we have for rain when the aircraft's flying at higher speeds. In that previously we had almost like streaking, almost like Star Wars going in the warp drive streaks along the cockpit, and those really didn't look all that great, we thought. So this is actually the new effect we have for flying through rain. The second question is, with the release of DCS L39 near, will there be a hotkey or setting in the options of DCS World to disable the gun sight or hide it in-game? It's something we're certainly looking into, but first and foremost, we need to wrap up the L39C and then the ZA and essentially finish the product. At a later time, we may certainly look at going back and including that option. And it's something we looked into, but unfortunately it would actually add quite a bit of additional work. And right now there's just much higher priorities that we need to address first. So it's certainly something that's possible, but it's not something we plan to have, at least in the initial release. The third question has to do with multiple questions over years about the floating F-16 lantern pods, and those have actually been fixed and will certainly be in the release of DCS 1.5. The fourth question has to do with will new Overwing vapor effects be available in DCS 1.5? Probably not in 1.5, but hopefully sometime in 2. I think, as I mentioned in the previous Q&A, right now the effects team is solely focused on building the new effects base technology to have optimal frame rates so we can have really great stuff in the future. So that's where the focus is right now. And then once we get that basis of technology, then we'll further refine the clouds, the explosion, include overwing effects and things like that. But before we can get to that point, we need to first set a really good technology foundation for those new effects. The next question has to do with how is the Strait of Hormuz map coming along? And it's coming along great, thanks. All the airfields and the cities, the towns, the roads, most of it's all in the game right now. The big issue right now is that unlike the Nevada map, where we had good access to mesh and texture data, trying to get the same data for that region without spending a huge amount of money has been incredibly difficult, if not impossible, actually. So we're in the process now of developing new map terrain technology, both mesh and textures, in which even if we have relatively low quality data in mesh and textures, we can still make a really great looking map. So the focus on the Strait right now is in many ways kind of waiting for us to finish that new map technology. And then when it is done, then we can go ahead and wrap that map up. But the map assets themselves are pretty much done at this point and looking really good. The next question is, I've not seen any grass in any of the videos or recent screenshots. Is the grass gone? It's not gone. We're just developing a much better grass, which actually, again, kind of goes back to some of the new effects to do an effect that performs really well. So once we get that base technology for some of the new effects, then we can go back and improve the grass. Actually, we did a grass technology demonstration earlier, which some of you guys may have seen, and hopefully we can actually go back and use that same grass, but will perform much, much better than it did during those earlier tests. The next question is, will the folder structure be the same? Simply, yeah. I don't see any changes there. The only differences, of course, is when we go to DCS World 2 and we start incorporating the new maps. There'll be some new structures to support that. But other than that, everything else should be pretty much what you're seeing right now. The next question is, you mentioned more control over the AI unit in the mission editor, like the ability to forbid afterburner usage, etc. Will we be able to use some of these new features via standard radio communications in mission? Not right now. Right now, these will essentially be confined to the advanced trigger system within the mission editor. Perhaps from a later point, we can roll it into the radio functions, but right now, it's solely a function of the advanced trigger system. The ninth question is, some news on the DCS Spitfire Mk9 would be great. Perhaps some footage of it flying in 1.5 and a cockpit view, hopefully. I'd love to, but unfortunately, we're just not there yet. While we have the external flying around in the game, we don't have really a cockpit in the game, much less any usable cockpit functionality. So, again, while I'd love to, we're simply not at that stage yet. When we do, of course, I'll love to show that to you. And the final question, which is, of course, a Hornet question, will the F-18 come with a new map with high-quality carrier come with it? Probably not. Kind of like what we're focusing on for DCS World is having individual components as individual components. So we'll release the Hornet as one DLC, a supporting map like the Straits of Hormuz as a separate DLC. If we do a new Nimitz class carrier, that will be a separate DLC. So that way people can buy the individual DLCs that they're interested in. We think that's probably the best way to do it. And of course, we may look at options where we'll do bundles of, say, doing a bundle of the Hornet, the Strait of Hormuz, the campaign, and the carrier in a single bundle. But first and foremost, we want to make sure that we have each of these components available for purchase as separate DLCs first and foremost. So that wraps up today's news and Q&A, and I got several more minutes of flying this mission. So feel free to stick around and continue watching this, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.